Greetings, respected viewers and dear friends. You are tuned into the independent analytical channel Ruslan Belov. Before we begin our today's, without exaggeration, urgent and extremely action-packed episode, I want to address each of you with a small but very important request. Please, right now, take literally a couple of seconds of your time. Check if you are subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video and leave any meaningful comment. Platform algorithms work in such a way that your activity, your subscriptions and reactions is the main engine and foundation for the development of this project. It helps the channel grow, allows me to make the content even more high quality, in-depth and regular, and helps truthful and objective information break through the information noise. Your support is invaluable, and I am sincerely grateful to everyone who helps our community expand. Thank you. And now, let's move on to the main agenda. Today on the calendar is March 11th, 2026, and I must say that the world is experiencing one of the most acute phases of a global geopolitical and military crisis in recent decades. The planet is literally bursting at the seams from the number of epoch-making events happening simultaneously on different continents. Today, you and I will witness how maps are being redrawn, how old alliances are collapsing, and how the military machine dictates new rules of the game. The sheer volume of events is colossal, requiring thoughtful analysis. So make yourselves comfortable. We are starting our detailed breakdown. Eastern European Theatre of Military Operations. The line of contact. Let's traditionally begin our overview with the line of contact in the Eastern European theatre, where highly significant changes have occurred over the past 24 hours. Cartographic data is continuously updated, and today we have important adjustments and insider information that sheds light on the future plans of the parties involved. Constantinople direction. Strategic suffocation. First and foremost, our attention is riveted to the Constantinople sector of the front. It is from here that fresh data has been arriving since early morning regarding small but tactically critical adjustments to the front line. If you follow our reports closely, you surely remember. A few weeks ago, the Russian side initiated a large-scale offensive on this vector. The main operational goal of this operation is extremely clear: to firmly secure the southwestern and eastern outskirts of the strategically important settlement of Constantinople, which is one of the key logistical hubs of the opponent's entire defensive system in this region. And today, we are receiving documentary confirmation that this plan is being systematically implemented. New adjustments have appeared on tactical maps, indicating that forward units of the Russian army have managed to significantly improve their positions on the eastern approaches to Constantinople. What exactly happened? Russian assault units, with massive artillery and drone support, managed to advance deep along an extensive forest belt. In the modern realities of warfare, forest belts act as natural fortified areas, the capture of which requires surgical precision and colossal effort. Furthermore, an entire network of complex engineering strongholds of the enemy in this direction was uncovered and captured. It is important to note that we are relying not on rumors, but on hard facts. Exhaustive objective control footage from reconnaissance drones has already been published online, unconditionally confirming this information. The infantry is consolidating its hold on the new lines. In parallel, news arrives that Russian units have managed to expand their zone of control within the territory of the settlement of Serhiivka, dislodging the enemy from several fortified blocks. Thus, step by step, the pincers around Constantinople are tightening. The combat map has been seriously adjusted over the past 24 hours. What is particularly valuable for our objective analysis is that the information regarding the advance in this direction is verified and provided by independent, neutral cartographic services, which eliminates the element of unilateral propaganda. Additionally, it is reported that on the northern flank of this sector, the Russian army managed to make a thrust in the area of the settlement of Stepanivka. The attack vector is directed strictly north, toward the settlement of Dovobalka. What does this mean from the perspective of military strategy? The Russian army is not just actively advancing, it is methodically severing the enemy's communications. The Constantinople sector of the front is currently an absolute priority for the Russian General Staff within the framework of the Spring-Summer campaign of 2026. The capture of this hub will open a direct path to the collapse of the entire defensive cascade in the central part of Donbass. Sloviansk sector, the calm before the general storm. Now let's shift the focus of our attention slightly to the north, to the Sloviansk sector of the front. From here, we are also receiving quite curious adjustments on the tactical map that require our deciphering. Today it became known that Russian units successfully managed to straighten the front line in the difficult sector between the settlements of Reznikovka and Nikiforivka. Straightening the front is a classic tactical maneuver that allows for the elimination of potential pockets and salients from which the enemy could launch a flanking strike, as well as shortening the length of one's own defensive and offensive formations. Over the past 24 hours, the map here has undergone changes. A rather extensive additional grey zone has been added to it. This information is confirmed by cross-analyzing data published by various independent cartographic resources. Furthermore, a tactical success by the Russian army is recorded in the area of the settlement of Ozerny. The troops managed not only to improve their positions, but also to approach right up to the settlement of Kryva Luka from the northern direction, creating a direct threat to the enemy garrison. Russian units continue offensive operations. However, we must make an important analytical remark here. Any observant watcher will notice that the current pace of advance on the Sloviansk vector is visually not as high and rapid as what we observed during the autumn-winter campaign, in November, October, September, and even December 2025. What is the reason for this slowdown? Is it a sign of force depletion? Military analysts and subject matter experts, whose opinions we carefully study, fundamentally disagree with the premise of weakness. On the contrary, they continue to assert that the current decrease in the intensity of the advance is an illusion, hiding something much more massive. At this moment, the Russian army is carrying out a highly complex covert regrouping of forces and assets, rotating exhausted units and accumulating colossal reserves of armored vehicles, artillery shells, and high-precision weaponry. All this is being done for one single purpose: preparation for the start of the next general offensive. According to expert estimates, this upcoming strike will be so powerful that it has every chance of becoming one of the final decisive chords in this entire prolonged military campaign in this direction. Sloviansk is a symbol and a strategic key, and the battle for it will require maximum concentration of resources. The Middle East crisis, on the brink of global war. And now, friends, we transport ourselves to another, no less and possibly even more explosive region of the planet. We are moving to the Middle East. The news feed from here today resembles dispatches from the times of world wars. News is pouring in continuously, and each piece could collapse global markets. We are watching in real time as the geopolitical conflict between the Western coalition, led by the US and Israel on one side, and Iran and its allies on the other, rapidly gains momentum. The escalation has reached a level where diplomatic dictionaries can be thrown into the trash. Only guns are speaking. The Strait of Hormuz. The blood artery of the global economy is severed predictably. The epicenter of this confrontation has become the Strait of Hormuz. Look at the map. This is how this waterway looks today, March 11, 2026. The Strait of Hormuz is the bottleneck through which the lion's share of global oil passes. And today we state a fact: no one is sailing through this strait anymore. Global logistics are put on pause. Traffic is dead. For the sake of objectivity, it is worth noting that just this morning, certain insider sources and specialized news channels published information that offered a faint glimmer of hope. It was reported that certain commercial vessels still had the ability to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, specifically oil tankers belonging to Iran itself, as well as a tanker fleet sailing under the flags of states that Tehran considers friendly. Primarily, this refers to China. It was claimed that an unspoken parity existed. These tankers were not attacked by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces, and in turn, the Western coalition did not strike them, fearing drawing Beijing into an open war. However, this fragile compromise was shattered by reality. Today, March 11th, like a bolt from the blue, confirmed information arrived. 3 giant oil tankers were treacherously attacked within the territory of the Strait of Hormuz. Horrifying photographs and video footage of the strikes on these vessels have already been published in global media and closed Telegram channels. Plumes of black smoke, burning oil, holes in the hulls. Looking at these images, we clearly understand. In all likelihood, these tankers will no longer be able to move anywhere. They have turned into blazing torches on the water. This is a colossal environmental and economic catastrophe. Paradigm shift. Iran declares total war. Tehran's reaction did not take long. Immediately after the publication of information about the strikes on these three tankers, the Iranian side made an unprecedentedly harsh statement. Iranian news agencies are broadcasting a new military doctrine. From this moment on, strikes by the Islamic Republic will not only be delivered as pinpoint, symmetrical retaliatory measures. No, now the Iranian armed forces are shifting to a tactic of blanket destruction. Strikes will be delivered in a massive, indiscriminate manner against absolutely all objects representing the military, economic, or logistical interests of the United States of America, Israel, and generally all coalition countries without exception in this region. This, my friends, is not just words. This is truly a very serious, fatal escalation. A conflict that just yesterday seemed like a manageable crisis is today taking on the characteristics of a regional war of annihilation. The pace at which tensions are rising is simply terrifying. What is behind these events? Let's dig deeper. I will remind you of the fundamental essence of what is happening. In order to somehow stabilize the catastrophic situation with global oil prices, which are already breaking all historical records, triggering hyperinflation in the West, and also to create a kind of turning point in the prolonged conflict with Iran, the US coalition and its allies desperately need to do one thing: establish complete physical and fire control over the Iranian side of the Strait of Hormuz. That is, to land and entrench themselves on this sovereign territory of Iran. We have discussed this story multiple times, maps in hand, in previous episodes, and today, multiple additional intelligence signals have appeared indicating that this unprecedented military operation is no longer just being developed in the quiet offices of the Pentagon. It is possible that its actual execution will begin quite soon. The countdown is in weeks, if not days. Let me remind you once again, and I will repeat myself so that you grasp the full subtlety of Eastern diplomacy and warfare. There is information, and it was actively circulated in global media yesterday and today, that certain Iranian and Chinese tankers, thanks to behind-the-scenes agreements, still have the ability to navigate the Strait of Hormuz without problems, without any military pursuit, or without the risk of falling under strikes either from Iran itself or from Western coalition countries. China, as the largest oil buyer, is keeping its finger on the pulse. Based on this economic reality, it would seem that Iran has no practical reason to voluntarily mine the Strait of Hormuz. After all, in the event of its total mining, Iran itself will lose its last vital avenue for exporting its oil, whether to Chinese corporations or any other shadow buyers. Therefore, the regular informational leaks from the West claiming that Iran is about to mine the strait primarily tell us something else. In all likelihood, it is the coalition itself preparing that very ground operation to seize the coast, shaping an informational pretext, casus belli, for it. And apparently Iran reads these plans perfectly well. Thus, understanding the inevitability of the invasion, Iran is preparing to abandon the entire coast of the Strait of Hormuz, fighting as it withdraws. But prior to this retreat, according to their doctrine of asymmetric warfare, massive indiscriminate drone and missile strikes will be launched against all commercial tankers and warships located in the waters of the Persian Gulf in order to inflict maximum economic damage on the West. And only after that, as a parting gift, the Strait of Hormuz itself will be densely mined. This is done with a dual purpose. On the one hand, to maximally reduce the effectiveness of the planned amphibious assault by Marines, potential expeditionary forces, and coalition paratroopers, since landing ships will simply blow up on approach. On the other hand, to prevent the rapid unblocking of the strait by US engineering forces after capturing the shore. We also know reliably that Iran, thanks to decades of preparation for such a scenario, basically possesses advanced weaponry for remote mining of water surfaces, using aviation, missiles, and underwater drones. Therefore, even in the event of a forced retreat deep into the mainland, away from the Strait of Hormuz, Iran will be able to continue launching missile strikes from a safe distance and maintain the overall mined state of this region and sector for quite a long period of time. The oil trade will die for long months. And with that, our deep analysis for today is concluded, dear friends. As you can see, the world stands on the brink of colossal upheavals. The contours of a new world order are being forged right now in the fire of artillery and in the quiet of diplomatic corridors. The Ruslan Belov channel unfailingly reminds you that despite our professional breakdown of military operations, we categorically condemn any manifestation of violence and the escalation of armed conflicts in the world. War is always a tragedy. We urge all sides of the confrontation, political leaders and the international community to come to their senses, begin immediate peace negotiations without preconditions, and resolve all accumulated geopolitical problems exclusively through diplomatic, compromise pathways, thereby saving millions of human lives. A huge thank you to each of you for watching my materials, trusting my analysis, and staying with me until the end. I remind you once again, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss urgent episodes, leave your likes and share your opinions in the comments. This is our shared platform for discussion. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones in these turbulent times. Peaceful skies above your heads, and I wish you all the very, very best. Until we meet again on the channel,